Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into the latest royal news surrounding King Charles and his decision regarding the future of the monarchy in Australia. As Australia continues to debate the possibility of becoming a republic, King Charles has made his position clear, stating that he won't stand in the way of such a decision. However, this move has sparked reactions, particularly from anti-monarchy groups, including Graham Smith, the chief of Republic, who shared some sharp opinions on the matter. Before we get into the details, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like. We appreciate your support and always strive to bring you the latest and most interesting updates about the royal family. Now, let's get into today's story. According to a report from the Daily Mail, King Charles has reaffirmed that he will not resist if Australia chooses to replace him as head of state and transition into a republic. This statement was made in response to growing conversations in Australia about cutting ties with the British monarchy and establishing a republic where the head of state would be an Australian citizen, not a member of the British royal family. As King Charles prepares for a significant trip to Australia, this issue is becoming more prominent in the public eye. The king's role as a constitutional monarch means he does not interfere in the political decisions of the countries where he is head of state. This includes respecting the wishes of Australia if the public decides to become a republic. In a letter from King Charles's secretary, Dr. Nathan Ross, responding to a formal request from the Australian Republic Movement, ARM, it was stated, "Please be assured that your views on this matter have been noted very carefully. His Majesty, as a constitutional monarch, acts on the advice of his ministers, and whether Australia becomes a republic is, therefore, a matter for the Australian public to decide." While King Charles's stance may appear neutral, Graham Smith, the leader of Republic, an anti-monarchy group in the UK, shared a different perspective on the king's statement. Smith took to Twitter to share his thoughts, posting the Daily Mail article and commenting, "Charles always says this, he hasn't got any choice." But in 1975, he directly interfered in the dismissal crisis. Smith's reference to 1975 touches on a controversial moment in Australian political history, known as the Australian Constitutional Crisis, where then-Governor-General Sir John Kerr, the Queen's representative in Australia, dismissed Prime Minister Gough Whitlam. This event raised questions about the monarchy's influence in Australian politics, a sensitive topic that still echoes in debates about republicanism today. Smith's tweet suggests that, while King Charles claims to remain neutral, there is a history of royal involvement in political matters, pointing to this 1975 crisis as an example of where the monarchy may have overstepped its bounds. He goes on to claim that in the UK, King Charles does all he can to resist scrutiny and maintain his privileges, which includes holding onto untaxed wealth. To understand the weight of Graham Smith's comments, let's take a closer look at the 1975 dismissal crisis. This incident was a pivotal moment in Australian politics and is still often cited by those advocating for an Australian republic. In November 1975, Governor-General Sir John Kerr used his constitutional powers to dismiss Prime Minister Gough Whitlam, who had lost the support of the Australian Senate, creating a gridlock in government operations. While the Queen and the broader British royal family were not directly involved in the decision, Kerr's role as the Queen's representative meant that the monarchy was seen as having a hand in this controversial dismissal. This event fueled discussions about whether Australia should continue to have a head of state who is tied to the British monarchy or transition to a system where the head of state is an Australian citizen chosen by the Australian people. The Australian Republic movement has since used this event as a cornerstone of their argument for why Australia should become a republic. Their stance is that no country's head of state should be a foreign monarch, particularly one who resides thousands of miles away. As King Charles steps into his new role as the monarch, his position as a constitutional monarch means he is largely symbolic in his role and is expected to act on the advice of his ministers. In countries like Australia, where the monarchy still serves as the head of state, the king's powers are very limited, and political decisions are left to the elected government. By reaffirming that the decision to become a republic is up to the Australian people, King Charles is positioning himself as a passive figure in the debate. His stance highlights that he will not oppose the will of the Australian public if they choose to cut ties with the British monarchy. However, this passive role has been called into question by critics like Graham Smith, who argue that the monarchy still wields influence, even if it is behind the scenes. Smith's comments also suggest that the king's neutrality may be more performative than genuine, pointing to past incidents like the 1975 crisis as proof. Graham Smith is no stranger to critiquing the British monarchy. As the leader of Republic, he has been vocal about the need to end the monarchy in the UK and has frequently criticized the royal family for holding on to wealth, privileges, and power that he believes are undemocratic in the modern age. Smith's argument, in this case, is that King Charles's statement about allowing Australia to decide its future is disingenuous, as he believes the monarchy will do whatever it can to hold on to its influence and privileges, both in the UK and abroad. He has also criticized the lack of transparency around royal finances, particularly the issue of untaxed wealth. For anti-monarchy groups like Republic, the debate around Australia's potential shift to a republic represents a larger movement to challenge the relevance of monarchies in today's world. They argue that the time has come for countries like Australia, Canada, and even the UK to move beyond the centuries-old tradition of monarchy and establish fully democratic systems where the head of state is an elected figure. As always, the public's response to this ongoing debate has been mixed. While some are staunch defenders of the monarchy, believing that it serves an important symbolic and historical role, others are increasingly questioning its place in modern society. In Australia, the conversation about becoming a republic has been gaining momentum in recent years, with younger generations expressing a stronger desire to sever ties with the British monarchy. This sentiment was heightened after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, as many Australians feel that King Charles's reign is an opportunity to redefine their national identity. At the same time, there are many Australians who still have a deep respect for the monarchy and see it as a unifying institution that provides continuity and stability. For these individuals, the monarchy's role is largely ceremonial, and they believe that the benefits of maintaining the relationship with the British royal family outweigh the arguments for a republic. In the UK, sentiments toward the monarchy are also evolving. While the royal family continues to enjoy significant support, particularly among older generations, younger people are increasingly questioning the relevance of the institution. This has led to growing calls for greater transparency and accountability, particularly when it comes to royal finances. As Australia continues to grapple with the question of whether to become a republic, King Charles's neutral stance on the matter is unlikely to be the final word. The decision ultimately rests with the Australian people, and the debate is expected to intensify in the coming years, especially with growing political and social movements advocating for a break from the British monarchy. If Australia does eventually become a republic, it will mark a significant moment in both Australian and British history. For the British royal family, it would represent a shift in their global role, as one of the largest and most influential members of the Commonwealth would no longer have the British monarch as its head of state. For anti-monarchy advocates like Graham Smith, such a development would be seen as a victory and a step toward dismantling the monarchy altogether. However, for royalists, it would be a moment of reflection on the monarchy's place in the modern world and how it can remain relevant in an era of increasing calls for democracy and transparency. As the debate over Australia's future as a monarchy or a republic continues, it's clear that this is not just an Australian issue. It's a debate with global implications for the future of the British monarchy. With figures like Graham Smith leading the charge for an end to the monarchy and King Charles's careful positioning as a neutral figure, the future of the Commonwealth's relationship with the British royal family remains uncertain. What do you think about King Charles's stance on the Australian Republic debate? Should Australia cut ties with the British monarchy, or is the institution still relevant in today's world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. We'll be back with more updates on the royal family and the evolving debate over monarchy and republicanism.